Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gururdevo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Bhadram Karnebhiः Shrunuyama Devaः Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraः Sthirairangai tuštuvagam Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuः Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti nः Pusha Vishvavedaः Swasti nastangsharyo arishthanemihi Swasti no brihaspatirdhadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste friends, a warm welcome to session 7 of the Mandukya Upanishad with Karika. We know that the Upanishads are apaurushaya, meaning that they have come not from humans but from the gods themselves. Hence, the wisdom contained in them is supreme. Through the grace of God and our Guru Shishya Parampara, we are able to access and understand the profound wisdom meant to liberate us from human suffering. Through the last 6 weeks, we have been studying the Mandukya Upanishad, and in today's class, we study verses from Gaudapadacharya's Mandukya Karika. Before we enter today's session, moderated by our respected teacher, Dr. Timappa Hegde sir, I request Sri Venkatesh Prasad to help us recollect what we learned in the previous class. Over to you, Venkatesh sir.
Thank you, Panaga. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Friends, let us briefly revisit the Karika 18 and Mantra 8 to 11, which we studied in our previous session. Karika 18. In this verse, Gaudapada says that the Guru, scripture, disciple is also a duality, and as such belongs to Mithya category. If the division had been actually created, it has to be eliminated by knowledge because that division is an appearance only, but not in existence. The examples of clay and pot, as well as that of snake and rope, will convey the same meaning. Once you understand clay, pot is gone. Similarly, the snake is gone once you know the rope. For a Vedanta Gnani, the only Turiyam or Brahman exists, and I am that Turiyam. The world is thus reduced to a mere word created by you. What to speak of snake, pot, or the characters on the screen? So, like a pole vault, Vedas accept duality or Dvaitam temporarily to prepare the mind for knowledge of Advaitam or non-duality emerge. With this, the Atma Vichara part is over, and we now enter the Omkara Vichara. Take mantra 8 in the next slide. The Chatushpada Atma Vichara can be equated to the sacred Vedic mantra Om in its totality as the total syllable. Shankara in his Bhashyam convincingly proves that Atma Vichara is nothing but Omkara Shabdartha Vichara or Omkara Abhideya Vichara, and the Omkara Vichara is nothing but Omkara Shabda Vichara or Omkara Abhidhana Vichara. Total Atma is equal to total Omkara. Having equated them in totality, the Upanishad says that both the total Atma and total Omkara have 4 components. The 4 components of Atma are Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, and Turiya. Likewise, the 4 components of Omkara are Akara, Ukara, and Makara, which are called Matras, and the silence that follows, the Upanishad calls that silence as Amatra. So, Omkara Vichara is also Omkara Chaturmatra Vichara. The Upanishad says that each component of Atma can be equated to each component of Omkara in the same order sequentially. Thus, Vishwa is equal to A, Tejas is equal to U, Prajna is equal to Ma, Turiyam is equal to silence. Silence is the best representation of Turiyam. Then the Upanishad talks about meditating upon A, U, and Ma as Vishwa Vaishvanara, Taijasa Hiranyagarbha, and Prajna Ishvara respectively. Practicing this meditation will get one ready for identity with Turiyam. The matras are equal to padas and vice versa. The Upasana will be introduced in the next mantra. We move on to next slide for mantra 9. The three equations are the subject matter for Upasana. The first meditation is Akara. The first letter A of Omkara is equated to Vaishvanara, the first quarter of Atma, which is experienced in the waking state. As we move on to the next slide, two common features between the letter A and Vaishvanara are all pervasiveness and primacy. Cause must pervade all the effects. The letter A pervades all the letters. Vaishvanara or Vishwarupa also pervades everything. Thus, A becomes the symbol for the entire waking universe. The second common feature is that both of them are the first one in the list. Because of these two common features, pervasion and primacy, we have to meditate on A as Vaishvanara and to be practiced in the form of Upasana. In the next slide, we can see benefits of Upasana. Nishkama Upasana benefit is expansion and refinement of the mind. Sakama Upasana benefit is the fulfillment of all the desires in terms of position, possession, and becoming foremost in life. This Upasana, called as Pravilapana Dhyanam, is mentally resolving the entire universe into me, the consciousness. Chanting Om helps in visualizing the universe arising out of me. The length of chanting its sustenance and the silence that follows helps in visualizing the universe resolving into me. For this Pravilapana Dhyanam, Omkara serves as a symbol. We'll go to the next slide for mantra 10. The second equation is presented here. U is the second letter of Omkara and Taijasa is the dream stage. We have to include the Hiranyagarbha at the total level. Two common features of Ukara and Taijasa are both are superior to the previous pair. Ukara is superior to Akara because Ukara is closer to silence compared to Akara. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha is closer to Turiyam, Brahman, and is the cause for Virat and hence superior. The second is that Ukara is intermediary between Akara and Makara. Similarly, Hiranyagarbha is the intermediary between Virat and Ishvara. As we move on to the next slide, the benefits of Ukara meditation are: the Nishkama benefit is the expansion of mind. Sakama benefit, increased knowledge because of Hiranyagarbha is the total intellect. The meditator will not be disliked by anyone. He will be chosen as the intermediary in resolving disputes. This meditator will later become a Gnani also, and in his family there will be no self-ignorant people. Let's now go to the next slide to take up mantra 11. The third equation is presented here. The third letter Makara is equated to Prajna and Ishvara. Prajna is associated with the deep sleep stage. The common features of Makara and Ishvara are both are like a measuring vessel. Just as the measure holds the grain invisible and pours out the grain visible, Ishvara holds the creation in his unmanifest form and creation comes out of Ishvara. When the speaker closes his mouth after speaking many words, the sound made is Makara. Into Makara, all the words resolve, and from Makara, all words arise again. The second common feature is that both are the resolution ground. Both are swallowers of everything. In the last slide, we will see the benefits. For Nishkama Upasana, the benefit is the purification of mind. For Sakama Upasana, the benefit is increased capacity to discriminate and assess everything. This meditator finally makes the assessment that this world is mithya and the truth of the world is Brahman. The Upanishad gives the identity between Omkara and Atma in mantra 12. Before that, Gaudapada comments on the three equations in several Karikas. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sri Venkatesh Prasad. You did an excellent summary of mantras 8, 9, 10, 11, and also an important Karika before that. In each of these mantras, which are primarily dealing with Upasana, and Upasana will have benefits. And as your pictures have nicely illustrated, each Akara, Ukara, and Makara, what is the Nishkama Upasana and what is the Sakama Upasana are very clearly pointed out. Thank you very much. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. As Panaga pointed out in the introduction, how blessed we are that this very, very refined truths of the Upanishads, and of all of them, Mandukya, which is the pinnacle of all the Upanishads, is available for us for understanding, and to be able to understand and to share our little understanding with each one of you is indeed possible because of our Gurus. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We have come to almost the conclusion of the Agama Prakaranam. When we are studying Mandukya Upanishad along with the Karikas, there can be some confusion because as you are going suddenly from nowhere, one Karika comes and then one mantra comes and then a Karika comes. Now this will go on throughout the first part, which is called the Agama Prakaran. As you will know, the Mandukya Upanishad is the smallest Upanishad. It has only 12 mantras. And all these mantras of the Mandukya I have shown in red in this. Interspersed, because along with the Mandukya, we are studying these Karikas. What are these Karikas? Karikas are the explanatory poetic verses. The Upanishad is in prose form, but Gaudapada Acharya, the great Advaita Acharya, is able to give us explanatory mantras, explanatory karikas. Karikas is like a form of a commentary. So I will just introduce this slide. This will help those who to get an overview of what is this Agama Prakaran. Mantras 1 and 2 are said to be for Uttamadhikaris. It begins by saying, Om is everything. And the second mantra says everything is Brahman. And then immediately a Mahavakya comes, I am Atma Brahma. That means if mantra 1 and 2 are understood, and that is possible only for what is called an Uttamadhikari, a person who comes with all qualifications, the Mahavakya is given, the teaching is over. Mantras 3 to 6 suddenly divide into the waking dream, deep sleep state, and this is called Adhyaropa. This is a very useful teaching technique in Vedanta because the truth is already there. The accomplishment in Vedanta is called accomplishment of the accomplished because we are already that. Moksha is not a goal to be attained. It is a Siddha Vastu. But we are not able to appreciate that. So the teachers have to give what is called Adhyaropa. They have to create a situation by saying they agree with us that we are all limited beings. And therefore, that is how the mantras 3 to 6 go. Immediately after that, because these mantras are so profound, Gaudapada Acharya comes in after mantra 6, where there is a beautiful description of Ishvara and gives Karikas numbers 1 to 9, very nice poetic verses which summarize the mantras 3 to 6. Then comes the Apavada mantra, the greatest of all the Upanishadic mantra, Mantat Prajnam Na Bahish Prajnam, mantra number 7. And after that, Gaudapada Acharya gives from 10 to 18, 9 Karika poetic verses elaborating that mantra. What is this Nantat Prajnam Na Bahish Prajnam? After that is over, again the mantras start, which was recapped by Venkatesh Prasad today. And the understanding of these mantras are very important because in today's class, we will have Karikas from 19 to 23. And once this 19 to 23 is over, we come to another very beautiful mantra, mantra 12, which is very similar to mantra 7, because this is the correlation between the sound that is called the matra with the pada. And then for that mantra, that is mantra 12, we have karikas from 25 to 29. So therefore, overall, we will have only 12 mantras, but 29 karikas. And this is the pattern in which it is going to be interspersed. I discussed this in the last class, but I'm going to tell you once again. The Guru and the scriptures for all of us are the same. Some of us are able to understand and get Brahma Vidya, not only get Brahma Vidya, but get the benefit of Brahma Vidya. Those who are able to get Jnanam and Jnana Phalam are called Uttamadhikaris. What is Jnana Phalam? That means a person becomes a Mukta Purusha. He lives in the body just like all of us, but is absolutely unaffected by whatever happens to his own body, mind, or the surroundings, because his understanding of Vedanta is so profound. And such a person is called an Uttamadhikari. Most of us come in the category of Madhyamadhikari. We have been into Brahma Vidya for quite some time. We have an excellent Acharya who's given us real clarity in and a good methodology. And in the process, Brahman, what is Brahman? Brahma Vidya, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, that knowledge is very clear. And in all our classes, we can teach with absolute conviction. But the problem is, when there is a problem in the profession or in our personal life, we tend to break down. And then we see a great disparity between what we know and our own lives. So we are still struggling by making Brahma Vidya work. What is a Manda Adhikari, which I'm certain none of us in this group are? A person who is not able to get this knowledge. This knowledge is certainly very profound. You will see, even though, like Venkatesh Prasad has so nicely summarized, unless we break our head on each of those mantras, they will not reveal their deeper meaning. So Jnanam is difficult, and Jnana Phala is also difficult, and that category is called a Manda Adhikari. The Upanishad is available for all, and therefore the mantras that we are studying 8, 9, 10, 11 are primarily for, let us not negate ourselves, for the Manda and the Madhyamadhikari, because here we are introducing what is called Vedantic meditation. Vedantic meditation is of two types. One is called Upasana, which is done before Brahma Vidya to get eligibility to study Brahma Vidya. And the other is called Nidithyasana. That means once I get the teaching, which is the position that we are all in, the problem is we tend to forget. And when we get back to the outer world, the teachings remain only in the classroom. And there should be a method where we sit in our prayer room and remind ourselves, Aham Nityam Nityaha Shuddhaha Buddhaha Muktaha Shivaha Shivaswarupaha. And this training has to be done repeatedly, and that is what is called Nidithyasana. In today's class, I will focus more on what is this Upasana, because all the mantras that we are studying, the mantras we studied in the last class, Venkatesh Prasad has nicely recapped these mantras, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Those mantras have Gaudapada Acharya's Karikas. So we will be studying. All of them deal with the topic of Upasana. What is Upasana? Upasana is defined as Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Vyapara. Vyapara means some noise. Vyapara is a transaction. Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma is not Nirguna Brahma, but Brahman with form. So whenever I do a mental activity, that becomes Upasana. Why is Upasana necessary? Because to understand Brahma Vidya, I need a very refined mind. I need a certain integrated mind. And part of it is this Upasana. What is Upasana? We will see. But another definition of it is Nikrishta Vastu Utkrishta Drishti. Something very ordinary, a piece of cloth, like our national flag. But do you treat it like any piece of cloth? We treat it with reverence as if it is my mother, as if it is my country. Why do we do that? So the flag represents the country, and that is how. What is Upasana? Upasana is of three types. You should remember this. First is the definition of Upasana as Nitkrishta Vastu Utkrishta Drishti, and second is Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Vyapara, primarily done to get us Jnana Yogyata, an integrated mind, so receptive to the teacher, and when the teacher says Tatutvam Asi, it should penetrate our head immediately, and we should be able to say, Guruji, Aham Brahmasmi. What are the types of upasana that we do? One is called Manasa Puja. Now we have to visualize your Ishta Devata and mentally do a form of worship. When we spend some time mentally worshipping our Lord, that is Manasa Puja. A very simple and a very popular technique is Manasa Japa. Depending on our Ishta Devata, the Guru tends to give you a mantra, Shri Krishnaya Namaha, or Om Namah Shivaya, or Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Each word has to be sung with great emphasis, with a lot of bhakti. Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. And when I go on doing it with the help of a japamala, when there is no other thought, I'm not uttering it aloud, but I'm doing mentally. So a lot of mental focusing has to be done because I'm chanting Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. That is Manasa Japa. And then there is Manasa Parayana. That means I can take a few verses of the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, and then, or even some prakarana grantha, like Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijan Targatam. So when you do this form of mental activity, it is called Manasa Parayana. And you will see how important these exercises, because your mind will now be available for you, not only for spiritual purposes, but for also for vyavahara. When you are with the patient, when you are talking, when you are at work, you can be 100% in doing whatever you're doing. Swamiji has said there are 4 types that you can use Upasana for. One is for relaxation. One is to be focused on whatever you're doing. Second is to expand. In Mandukya, from Vishwa to Virat, from Taijasa to Hiranyagarbha, from Prajna, see yourself as Ishvara. Whatever values that I want, I can see that and inculcate it in my mind. That is called value meditation. And ultimately, that value becomes your regular thoughts. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. So by changing your thoughts through Upasana, we could change our destination, our destiny. Now, we know all this. I cannot sing, but I will. Omkara bindu samyuktam nityam dhyayanti yoginaha kamadam mokshadam chaiva. Omkaraya namo namaha. Omkara bindu samyuktam. That Om with the dot. Nityam dhyayanti yoginaha. The yogis, that means ourselves, all of us, the seekers, the sadhakas, all the time meditate on Omkara. Why? Kamadam mokshadam chaiva. Whatever you want in the world outside to fulfill your desires, or for Parama Purushartha, Omkara Yanamo Namaha. So today we will see in all our classes and all the value of meditating on Omkara. I will spend just 1 minute more to tell you the greatness of Omkara that we studied in the Kathopanishad. Remember, this was the ultimate question by Nachiketa. O Yamadharmaraja, O Guruji, tell me something beyond dharma, something beyond adharma, something beyond cause and effect, something beyond past and the future. Anyatra dharma, anyatra adharma. Now, and tell me from your own experience. And for that, the great answer comes. Sarve Veda Yat Padam Amananti Tapagnavam chi sarva cha yad vavadanti yad icchanti brahmacharyam charanti tadde padam sangrahena bravimi om yetad. That goal which all the Vedas profound, for which people give up their normal life and take a life of brahmacharya, do a lot of austerities. Now that essence is Om. And in the next verse, he goes on praising about Om. He says, Yetad alambanam Brahma, Yetad eva aksharam Brahma. This akshara is Brahma. Yetad aksharam param. This is the highest. Yetad aksharam jnatva yad ichchati tasya tat. Now, this is indeed Brahman, this is the highest. One who knows this gets whatever he desires. This is what Yamadharmaraja had said. And then he continues, Yetad alambanam sreshtam. This is the highest. Yetad alambanam param. Yetad alambanam jnatva. One who knows this, one who meditates on this, is adored in Brahma Loka. Now, Omkara can be seen both two ways. One is to learn the meaning of Omkara that we are doing in Mandukya. And if you're able to get the essence of the four padas, Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti, and Turiya, if you're able to get it, we get Jivan Mukti and we get liberation here and now. That is through Omkara Vichara. But supposing for some reason that is not possible, then what we do is meditate on Omkara, or in today's class, we'll see the value of meditating on Akara, Ukara, and Makara. Whenever you chant or focus on we focus on Vishwa to Virat. That means the limited me becomes Virat. When you focus on the U component, and this will be repeated by all our teachers today, when you focus on the U component, I'm meditating on Om, but my emphasis is on the U component. I move from Taijasa to Hiranyagarbha, the creator. And when my focus is on Om, the Ma component becomes very long. Then my focus is on Prajna. Then I focus on, from Prajna, I go on to become Ishvara. Then there is a gap between the two Oms. And when I become aware of that gap, I become aware of my true nature or Turiya. The opening speaker will do Karika 19. So Karika is an explanation of the mantra, and that will be by Sukanya. Sukanya, please.
Hari Om, sir. In the last session, in mantras 9, 10, and 11, description of the four padas of Atma and four matras of Omkara were explained. In today's session, Karikas 19, 20, and 21 are being presented, which is paraphrasing of the same mantras. The four quarters of Atma with the four matras of Omkara is given in this slide. Atma is Omkara from the standpoint of the total syllable Om. From the standpoint of individual letters, A, U, are the matras. Analysis of the four padas of Atma and four matras of Omkara with equation is done for the purpose of meditation. Meditation on Omkara is very powerful. Om is everything. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. Everything comes under the domain of Brahma. Next slide, sir. Swami Paramarthanandaji says, the upasanas prescribed in this Upanishad are not the main topic, but it's only incidental. Through the journey of Upasana, by equation, the meditator is able to visualize the Atma and he identifies himself as the creator of the universe. A brief introduction of Mantra 9 along with its paraphrasing in Karika 19 is presented here. Next slide, sir. Mantra 9 goes like this. Jagritasthano Vaishvanaraha Akara Prathama Matra Apte Radimatvatva Apnoti Havai Sarvan Kaman Adishya Bhavati. evam veda. Vaishvanara, whose field is the waking state, is the first letter A in Omkara due to similarity of all pervasiveness and primacy. One who meditates thus attains all desires and becomes the foremost. Now the next Karika 19 goes like this. Vishvasyatva vivakshama adi samanyam utkutam matra sampratipattau syad apti samanyam evacha. While relating to the letters, when Vishva is to be identified with Akara, the similarity of primacy and also all pervasiveness becomes evident. This is the first stage in meditation on Omkara, equating Akara with Virat, with awareness of the common features. Next slide, sir. As per Shankara Bhashyam, Vibhasyatvam Akaramatratvam yada vibhakshate tada aditva samanya ukta nyayena utkatam drishyate. Matra sampratipattau. With such matra pada abheda gnana, what happens? Vishvasyatva vivaksham. Vishwa is equated with Akara. Virat represents the entire Jagra Sthula Prapancha, which includes all planets, entire solar system. Tada aditva samanyam. At that time, the common features of both ukta nyayena drishyate means appears prominent in the mind. Atva vibhaksya mityasya matra samprapatyato. While equating, these two common features become dominant. Apti samanyam evacha, as already explained in the mantra 9. So, through the sound of the gross Thula Prapancha, that is Vishvarupa Ishvara, is visualized, and with such meditation, two common aspects, Adi and Apti, become evident in the mind of the Upasaka. Next slide, sir. Why is this equation done between padas of Atma and matras of Omkara is detailed here. By the law of association, Vaishvanara, the waker, whose field is the waking state, is equated along with the first letter A. When we chant Om, the hidden sound A is the Prathama Matra. This is equated with Jagrata Avastha because both of them have two common features, Apte and Adimatvam. Apte is all pervasiveness. Vishvarupa Ishvara, the Lord of entire universe, so Virat is all pervaded. We have studied the various cosmic forms of the Lord in chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, the letter A is the basic sound when we open our mouth. The same sound A modifies to E when the mouth is opened and teeth are shown, and it modifies to when the mouth is shut. Therefore, A is the basic material cause which gets transferred to all other sounds. A is the Mula Karana Akshara and all others are Karya Aksharani. Cause pervades all effects. Therefore, letter A being the Karanam pervades all letters. Akara vai Sarva Vyapi, all letters are modifications of one sound A for which Brahma is the Devata. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma, cause from which all sounds emanate. Shankara says, Akara is Sarva Vyapi tatha. Virat is also Sarva Vyapi. Just as gold pervades all ornaments, Akara vai Sarva Vak, all letters are manifestations of A. The second common feature, Adimatvat, means primary status. Adi is beginning. Creation is a controversial topic in philosophy. In Srishti, we saw Ishvara was the firstborn, thereafter Hiranyagarbha, and later Virat. Creation is always from subtle to gross. This is Utpatti Kramaha. But for knowledge of Brahman, it's always from gross to subtle. This is Pratipatti Kramaha. Swamiji says, for the purpose of knowledge, it's from gross to subtle, so Virat is the first. Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam says, Omkarasya Akara Prathama Matra Tatha Vaishvanare Jagat. Next slide, sir. Why is this equation of A with Virat and why symbolize? According to Shastras, any symbol that is used to represent some object should have common features, just as green symbolizes prosperity, flag symbolizes unity of a nation, Saligram as Vishnu, Shiva for auspiciousness. Thus, in the first stage of Omkara meditation, may you learn to meditate upon Virat using the symbol of A and practice Akara Virat Aikya Dhyanam. And remember the two common features, all-pervasiveness and primacy, while meditating. This is the message in Mantra 9 and Karika 19. Next slide, sir. With this special skill of equating, the meditator visualizes Virat. He maintains material prosperity, Sarvan Kaman Apnoti. Virat being the foremost, meditating on Virat Akara, he'll be the foremost in life. In the next Karikas, meditating on Ukara Taijasa and Makara Prajna is explained. And in Turiya, he shifts his attention from what he witnesses to the witness itself. Turiyam is the landing state, the witness consciousness that runs through all the three stages. In conclusion, one who meditates on Omkara with the knowledge of common features of Atmapadas and Omkara Matras is considered a great sage. He has an intense desire for Atmagnanam and he identifies silence with Brahman. This is a shift from awareness of sound to awareness of silence, simultaneously resolving Vaishwanara into Nirguna Brahma. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Sukanya, for a very excellent explanation of the Karika. So this was about Mantra 9 and Karika 19. And what is the similarity between the Pada and the Matra? That means the waking state and R, and what is the benefit of meditating on this? The similar exercise will go with U, that will be explained by Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra. Dr. Sanjay, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is a very important introductory verse which I would like to chant because this says the same thing. Jagrat Swapna Sushuptaya Viprapancha Yat Prakashate Tat Brahma Ahamiti Gyatva Sarva Bandhai Pramichyate. That which illumines the world of relative experience says lived in the waking, dream and deep sleep condition, that Brahman I am. The one who realizes this, he is liberated from all the shackles, which is Sarva Bandhai Pramuchyate. That person who knows this is relieved of all the shackles. Next slide, please. So most of us have known this, but then I'm just repeating. In the Jivatma, there are three states which are called as the Jagrat. These are also called as the Avasthatraya. Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, and Shushupti Avastha. And there is a fourth one, which of course this Upanishad highlights upon. But let's limit ourselves to understanding this. I am the witness of all these. The consciousness or the Brahman or the Atman in the waking state is called as the Jagrat Avastha. In the dream state, where there is no objectification possible, mind creates its own understanding, and that is called as the Swapna Avastha. But your illumining principle is still active. In the Shushupti Avastha, you do not have any perception, neither you have any understanding, but your consciousness is still working for us to be able to realize this when we wake up. Next slide, please. So I am going to just tell you about this interesting slide which talks about the micro medium, which we call as Vyashti, and the macro medium, which is called the Samashti. At the Jiva level, in the gross awakened state, Samashti level, this is also called as Virat or Vaishwanara. In the dream state, the consciousness which is reflecting itself for us to be able to dream is called Taijasa, and at the macro level or the Samashti level, it is called as the Hiranyagarbha. In the deep sleep state, that consciousness which is reflecting itself for us to be able to know ourselves when we wake up is also called as Prajna, and at the macro level, it is called as the Antaryami. So at the Jiva level, the consciousness which is manifesting in the three states of Sthula, Sukshma, and the causal state can be called Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, and a composite of that is the Jiva. On the other hand, the macro level, when it is a composite or a samashti, we call it Ishvara. Next slide, sir. So we said that the entire universe is divided at the expression at micro level, which is Vyashti, and the Samashti, and both the levels are at three levels: the gross level, which is the Sthula, subtle level, which is the Sukshma, and the causal level. At the gross or Sthula level, the medium is gross, that is the Vekar consciousness, and this we have called Vishwa. And this is Indriya Gochara. That means it is subject to availability of perception by our sense organs. At the subtle level, the medium is only mind. There is no object available for our perception. So we create our own objects in the state of dream. And that consciousness in that state is called this Taijasa. At the causal level or the Karana Shariram level, the consciousness which reflects through the dormant level of deep sleep, it is called as Prajna. I think we probably have understood it very well. And it's been repeated again and again in most of the expression done so far. Next slide. So at the macro level, it is also called as the Prapancha. So Sthula Prapancha, which is we call as Virat, and I have already told about it. Sukshma Prapancha, which is Hiranyagarbha, and the causal, it is called as Prajna. And at the macro level, we either call it Ishvara or Antaryami. These are all some terminologies which make us understand and be able to understand while we read these concepts, which are enumerated at various places in the description of understanding about our gross, subtle, and the causal perceptions and the existence. Next slide, please. So these are the 9th, 10th, and 11th mantras, which has already been talked about. And I'm going to skip them because they have been discussed. And I'm going to come to the Karika. What do you mean by these mantras? Next slide, please. So what is the meaning which is conveyed in these mantras? As we all know, and Dr. Hegde has already talked about it, that the Karika or the commentary is written by Gaudapada Acharya for the reader to understand the equation of what is Jagrata Avastha, what is Swapna Avastha, what is Sushupti Avastha, to be compared with the three letters of Om. This has also been repeated in the past. So the Jagrat, which is the grossest, and you always grow from gross to subtle. So Jagrata Avastha, which is equated to Akara part of the Om expression, Swapna to U, which is Ukara, and Sushupti to which is Makara. Why this explanation is given? And this is for the seeker to meditate upon these aspects and relate to the three states when he ascends from the gross to subtle and ultimately to the subtlest. This is being told by the previous speaker also. Next slide, please. So what is the significance of Akara, which is the primordial sound, which is available in all other sounds? Our sounds are Akara. Adi asya vidyate iti adimat. Adi means beginning, mat means endowed with. It encompasses, it engulfs whatever sound is possible to be produced. This means the first one at micro level, it equates to, we call it Vishwa. And from Vishwa, you go to the macro level where we call it Virat, which is the gross level of manifestation. In the waking state, at the grossest macro level is the first one to know the Brahman. So we start with Virat. When you go to the macro, you start with Virat. Next slide, please. So where does the Virat go? The Virat goes to the next level, which is the Hiranyagarbha. And from Hiranyagarbha, one goes to the next, which is Ishvara. At micro level, Jiva goes from Vishwa to Taijasa to Prajna. And this is also to be realized while meditating, doing the Vedantic meditation. Now, if you equate it to the expressions of Om, from A you go to U, which is in between. The important thing is the U, Ukara, is the middle one. And from this one, it goes to the third, which is the Makara. So Taijasa or Ukara is the intermediary one. We can call it the connecting link. And in our states of consciousness, which is we see in the waking, dream, and sleep, the dream state is the interlinking one. From the waking, you go to the deep sleep, but in between a state, which is the dream state, which is called the Swapna Avastha. Next slide, please. The Vedantic meditator has to learn to resolve the Akara and Virat to Ukara in Hiranyagarbha and Makara and Prajna, and finally abide as the Nirguna Turyam. Dr. Hegde has talked about. Thus, primarily it is a part of Nididhyasanam. So, Omkara can also be used as an Upasana, which again I am repeating. Next slide, please. Now, the Karika goes, Tejasyo Tattva Vijnana Utkarsho Drashyate Svatam Matra Sampratipattau Sayud Bhayatvam Tathavidham. Next slide. When the Tejasa is equated to Ukara, so Gaudipada Acharya says, while practicing meditation, Vijnane means dhyane. You have to do dhyana on the U aspect of the Omkara, which represents the Tejasa. Utkarsha Svutam Drashyate means superiority of Ukara is understood. Obviously, the Ukara, which is the representation of the Tejasa, is superior to what? To the gross. So you're going from gross to subtle. Shankara also uses the word Udbhayatvam Tattva Vidam. In between, you is in between the A and Ma, A and Ma. So Hiranyagarbha is it being in between Virat and Antaryami at the gross level. Next slide, sir. In Sanskrit, the word Ubhayam in this context refers to one who is connected to two people, being the middleman. So the Ukara is connected to both Akara and Makara. So Tejasa is intermediary between Prajna and Vishwa. I think most of us have understood this. Vishwa Prajnora Madhye, between the waker and sleeper, there is the dreamer, the intermediary dreamer. And Sampratipatti means that is the equation we have to understand. Next slide, please. So Shankara gives a commentary on this and finally says that one who knows without a doubt the common feature that is found in the three states, which is your consciousness, which is your Atma, which is your Sakshi Chaitanyam, is worshipped and adored in the world. He is the knower of Brahman. So what is the common feature? The three quarters of Atman, that is Vishwa, Tejasa, and Prajna, are associated with waking, dreaming, and Sushupti, or deep sleep state, which are identical with the three sounds, A, U, and Ma. Now the Vishwa merges into Tejasa and subsequently Prajna, A into U and U into Ma, or you can call it This Prajna is Brahman, though it appears as a causal bija to those mind still moves in causality. Now, this is the interesting part, and I think it will be explained in the last verse, which is the 12th verse, that as a mind which still wants to connect to the cause and effect, you will be surprised that that mind which is still trying to find an answer in causality, you will be able to understand, but you have not reached the final understanding, because the knower of the Brahman considered Prajna, Turiya, and even the Tejasa and the Vishwa as one only. So ultimately that, so the description about what is that state, which is the state of the Turiyam, will be taken in the next verses. But what Shankara says, that who has reduced the causality being Brahman causing this, is still not knowing the Brahman completely. And that is the anti-climax with Gaudapadacharya brings about in his Karikas in the description of Mandukya Upanishad's verses. Thank you very much, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, for giving us a very good overview of all that we should know in Mandukya about the various padas and the matras, and very nicely correlated as part of the explanation of the Karika. You have mentioned everything, but there is only one thing that I would like to say as an additional point, that those who focus on or meditate on the Ukara, there is another benefit. And what is the benefit? It says everybody in your family, and not only in your family, for many generations to come, will become knowers of Brahman, which means the work that we do will have a beneficial effect on our immediate families and subsequent generation. On the other hand, we also need to be able to acknowledge our ancestors, our parents, and their parents and grandparents. Because of their sadhana, because of their upasana, we have come to this stage of Brahma Vidya, and that is mentioned by those who meditate on the Ukara. We will come to the Makara and the Karika. Chetana, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Karika 21 correlates with mantra 11. So we'll revisit 11th mantra first, which was beautifully explained by Purnima last week. So the mantra states, Prajna, the deep sleep state, can be compared to the third letter Ma or of Omkara due to the similarity of it being like a measure or measuring vessel, and due to it being the ground of dissolution. One who meditates thus knows the truth of all this. So from mantra 9 to 11, the Upanishad talks about the equation between the 4 matras of Omkara and the 4 padas of Atma, and declare both are one and the same. So mantra 9 brings out the similarity between Akara and Vishwa. The similarities between Ukara and Taijasa is discussed in mantra 10. And in this mantra, mantra 11 talks about the similarity between Makara and Prajna. So there are 2 similarities between Makara and Prajna. One is called Mitihi and the other is Apitihi. What is Mitihi? The word Mitihi means a measure or a measuring vessel. The Upanishad says that when we chant Om, the A and U disappears into Makara and reappears when we repeat or chant Om. Similarly, Prajna is the measuring vessel into which Vishwa and the Taijasa, the waker and the dreamer, disappear into and come out of it every day. Adi Shankaracharya gives the example of barley being measured in a measuring vessel. The barley first enters the measure, disappears into it, and thereafter appears again when poured out. So too, Makara is like the measuring vessel, and the letter O, comprising of syllables A and U, are like the barley grains. When one is chanting Om, the syllables A and U seem to disappear into Ma. And when he repeats the Omkara, the 2 syllables come out again. Similarly, Prajna, the deep sleep state, is like the measure because Vishwa, the waker, and Taijasa, the dreamer, like the barley grains, go into Prajna and come out every day. And at the macro level, Virat and Hiranyagarbha merge into Ishvara at the time of Pralaya and come out at the time of Shrishti, the origination. This was one similarity. The second similarity is called Apitihi, which means becoming unmanifest or being the ground of dissolution. So when chanting Omkara, the syllables A and U seem to merge and dissolve into Makara and become one with it. So too, Vishwa and Taijasa dissolves into Prajna in deep sleep state. And at the macro level, Virat and Hiranyagarbha also merge into Ishvara at the time of dissolution or Pralaya. Thus, Makara and Prajna are both grounds of dissolution and therefore are one and the same. With this background, Karika 21 becomes clear as Gaudapadacharya here is just reiterating the explanation of mantra 11. He says, Makara bhave pragnyasya manasamanya utkatam matra samprapti pattotu laya samanyam evacha. He says, while relating to the letters, while equating them, matra samprati pattotu, when pragnya becomes makara, pragnyasya makara bhave, the similarity of becoming a measure, mana samanyam, and the similarity of being the ground of dissolution, laya samanyam, becomes evident, utkatam. Therefore, in conclusion, mantras 9, 10 and 11 talks about the similarities of the three padas, Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, with the three matras, Akara, Ukara and Makara. So when the Upasaka or the meditator focuses on Akara, he becomes all-pervasive, the first, and fulfills all his desires because he becomes one with Virat. When the meditator focuses on Ukara of the Omkara, he becomes superior, loved by all, and becomes one with Hiranyagarbha. And when the Upasaka focuses on Makara, he has the ability to measure the previous two, becomes the resolving ground of all, and becomes one with Ishvara. Therefore, according to this equation, the Upanishad reveals that Omkara and Atma are one and the same. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Chaitanya, for a very nice explanation of this Karika and its correlation with the mantra 11 with very nice illustrations. We have two more Karikas, which will be spoken by two more people, and there will be a summary of the same message by these two speakers. Dr. Ashwini, please.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Karika 22. The verse goes like this. Trishu dhamasu yattulyam samanyam vetti nishchitaha sa pujyaha sarva bhutanam vandyashchaiva mahamunihi. He who clearly knows the common similarities between the quarters and the letters in all the three states is a great sage. He is respectable and adorable to all beings. Next slide, sir. Looking at the meaning, the pada meaning, Trishu dhamasu yattulyam. In these three states, that which is equally present. Samanyam vetti nishchitaha. In them, if one knows that without any doubt. Saha pujyaha sarva bhutana. He is worshipped by all living beings. Vandyascha eva mahamunihi. And even revered as a great sage. Verses 19 to 21 spoke of the similarities between the individual letters and the three states. The first three quarters of waking, dream, and deep sleep. The common factor in all of them is Turiya, or the fourth state, being the foundation. Each of four verses so far in this section represents an Upasana or exercise in chanting Omkara. The four Upasanas on Omkara, as already the previous speakers have spoken about. Verse 19, which the meditating upon Akara on Vishwa. Verse number 20, Ukara with meditation on Taijasa. Verse 21, Makara with meditation on Prajna. And verse 22, Omkara with meditation on Atma or Self. Next slide, sir. The Upasanas are done one after another. Symbolically, this means that sadhaka progresses from the outer towards the inner. The waking state representing gross world has to be mastered first. Stage 2 representing subtle world of thoughts in the mind. Stage 3 representing the causal state of avidya deep in heart space. Finally, the stage 4 breaking through avidya barrier and penetrating into the Atman, the pure consciousness itself. He who attains this is the realized sage who is worshipped by all, also revered by everyone. The fruits of these upasanas are unique to each. The one who practices upasana with the motive of attainment of jnanam will become a great wise person. He will understand the identity of silence with Brahman. Worshipping such a jnani gives both material and spiritual benefits. In the previous mantras, Upanishad talked about Sakama Upasana. Now Gaudapada is supplying us the benefit of Nishkama Upasana. But Swamiji also mentions that Upasana will not directly give knowledge, but one has to go through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam for knowledge. Now, just to add, we had studied Kaivalya Upanishad, mantras 18 and 19, which made a similar excerpts. Trishu dhamasu yad bhogyam bhokta bhogascha yad bhavet Tebhyo vilakshana sakshi chinmatroham sadashivah Mayyeva sakalam jatam mai sarvam pratishtam mai sarvam alayam yati tad brahma vayamasruham. So where it also says aham, the Atman cell, which is the Sakshi Chaitanya. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashwini. You will see these are the very beautiful Gaudapada Karikas helping us to clarify and get this overall correlation between the padas of the Atma and the matras of the Omkara. We have one more Karika, and that will be by Amitabh. Amitabh, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Karika 23. Akaro nayate vishwam, ukarascha tapi tejasam, makarascha puna pragyam, namatre vidyate gatihi. This verse eulogizes the person who practices Upasana on Om. So let us start with a little bit of background before getting into the verse proper. The ultimate objective of Vedanta is liberation through knowledge. A person obtains Videha Mukti, that is liberation when he or she is still alive, through true knowledge or removal of ignorance about oneself. However, many people, despite putting in effort, may not reach that state. Let's say a seeker has performed a lot of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidhyasanam and still falls short of realizing self. What happens to such a person after death? What kind of liberation will this person gain? This is what this verse is going to address. Next slide, sir. Yeah. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita also, Arjun has a similar question to Lord Krishna in chapter 6, verse 37. Arjuna asks, what happens to a person who is not enlightened in this birth? Does it mean that everything is lost? In that case, am I not better off doing something else? At least my efforts will not be wasted. Lord Krishna assures and replies to Arjuna that there is no reason to worry. Such a person will be reborn in a good family and in a conducive atmosphere where the conditions will be favorable to take the sadhana forward. The seeker starts off with an advantage in the next birth. Those who perform Upasana on Om go to better worlds where they can enjoy better levels of happiness, but it is not permanent. They will stay there until their punyam lasts. As a good example, Swami Nishchalananda, who used to run Ramakrishna Mission in South Africa, gave an interesting analogy. When he used to board the flight from South Africa to India, the air hostess used to welcome him into the flight, and the atmosphere in the flight used to be very comfortable. It used to be air conditioned, good food was served, and the airplane crew took good care of the passengers. So this was enjoyed by all the passengers in the flight. But when the flight reached the destination, the passenger cannot say that I want to continue living in the flight. The journey has come to an end and he or she needs to leave. So it is with the results of punyam. Certainly, the seeker will enjoy the fruits, but it lasts for a finite period. Next slide, sir. Yeah. So now, in the verse, this is what the verse says. Those who meditate on they and stress the word after death, they will attain Virat, means oneness with the gross universe or physical universe. Those who meditate on U, or with emphasis on U, after death, they will attain oneness with Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind. And those who meditate with emphasis on Ma will attain Ishvara, the causal aspect after death. Means they will attain Brahmaloka. However, all this is not permanent. They will stay there until their punyam lasts. Those who concentrate on silence, for them there is no gati, meaning they don't have to go anywhere. Sansara and rebirth are permanently over for them. Whatever is infinite cannot travel from one place to another, and this individual becomes one with Brahman. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Amitabh, for this for a nice explanation of this last Karika. Why I'm saying last Karika? But because there is a transition now. We have one more mantra, and that is the 12th mantra. And this Karika is a kind of a preparation to the 12th mantra. Now, how do we prepare to the 12th mantra? The 12th mantra that we will study in the next class is very similar to the 7th mantra, Nantat Prajnam, which deals with the Turiya. And the corresponding sound will be silence. So in this Karika, you are talking about what happens if you meditate on A, you become Virat. If you meditate on U, you become one with the Creator, Hiranyagarbha. If you meditate on M, you become one with Ishvara. What happens if you meditate on Turiya, on Omkara? You don't go anywhere. You discover yourself. We will see that in the next class. Shri Gurubhyo Namah.
Thank you, Dr. Hegde, sir. And our dear speakers, Sukanya ma'am, Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra, Chetna ma'am, Dr. Ashwini, and Shri Amitabh, for shining light on these exalted verses. This is an example of the subtlety, the profoundness, and the supremacy of the Upanishads. Om is a word we have known since childhood, but it is only through the study of the Mandukya Upanishad that we are able to understand its greatness and its usefulness in our spiritual growth. Friends, as you have seen in today's class, this learning of the Upanishads is only possible due to our gurus who deliver the knowledge in an easy to understand manner. As announced previously, we can now offer our gratitude to the lotus feet of our gurus on the occasion of Guru Purnima, which falls on 21st July. The decision to donate is entirely voluntary. The account details and modes of payment is now displayed on the screen, and it has also been shared in all the groups. We request you to please fill the Google form, the link to which is included in the message, so that a receipt can be issued. The entire offering collected will reach our gurus and details shared with you. Thank you very much for your continued support. With this, we come to the end of today's class, and do join us for our next Bhagavad Gita class, the gift for the Gita for inner freedom and transformation, session 34 on the 8th of July. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.